go ahead and get started for time's sake, and appreciate you all being here today. I know it's been a long but really awesome day. How lovely is it to be back in person and seeing people's faces and giving hugs and seeing people you haven't seen in a long time or seen on little videos. So it's just, there's so much good energy here at this meeting. I came in late last night and I was sitting downstairs catching up on email and just hearing just the laughter and the connections and people saying, hey, oh, come out with us, we're going, or great to see you. You just felt the energy. It's so palpable. So love that we're all here and back in person again. So I have the honor of working with Karen Millick today, and we're going to be co-presenting our talk. We're going to be talking about fostering resilience while living with Huntington's disease. So my name's Sasha Duffy, and I'm a neurologist at UC Davis in Sacramento and work alongside a fabulous team there. I will be giving the first half of the talk, and then we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Karen to share her story and her journey with Huntington's disease. All right, and thank you again for joining us. So here is the Scan Me QRC code for those that want to go ahead and get this on their phone to fill out the survey regarding this session. So really what we want to accomplish in our session is we're going to define resilience in a couple different ways. We're going to kind of talk about just the natural history or the natural course of Huntington's disease from risk to diagnosis and beyond, because it's through that journey that you start to build your resilience. And then we want to empower you with knowledge, community, and personal well-being. We want you to understand your resources so you can build your HD community. And then we want to hear our story from Karen. And what I will say is, where I've learned most of this, and who probably should be up here giving this talk, is all of you, right? It is from the HD community, the care partners, the families, HD patients, that I've learned about the true power and beauty of resilience. So you already empower all of this. We just want to unveil a little bit on how you already have this within you. So if you look up the Oxford Dictionary, definition of resilience, it says the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. Well, frankly, that just sounds like you're going to the gym and pumping iron, right? It's very dry. And to me, this doesn't really encompass what resilience truly is. It's not something you just go and get. It's something that you develop and build and adapt and allow flexibility around it. And your resilience waxes and wanes, right? As life throws at you these different barriers or challenges that you need to overcome. And your resilience changes over time, and what that means to you changes over time. So we want this to be a fluid process, not a static, go and get it, tangible object, all right? So I like this definition that comes from the American Psychology Association. It's a process and an outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to all these externals and internal demands, right? This means that we're working with the environment and what life is throwing at us, and that there's a process and an outcome from it, right, that leads to success. And there's a number of factors that contribute to how well people can adapt to adversities, and some of these are the ways in which you or an individual views and engages in the world. We all do that differently, right? What makes us tick is different for each and every one of us. So there's not a cookie cutter approach to this. It's what works for you and your family and your loved one, right? What works for another person is their opinion and their experience, but it's really what works for you. So how do we give you the tools to give you your resilience? It also has to do what's the availability of resources, right? And how good are those resources? So we want you to know what those resources are so that you can build that toolbox for yourself and take the ones that work for you. And then what are your coping strategies? We all cope with stuff differently, right? Some of us like to just dance it out. Some of us prefer a little yoga or just a simple walk outside or watching a bad movie and getting takeout food. Coping's different for every one of us, and you need to find what works best for you for that time in your life, because that also changes over time, right? So I think about it as here is our journey with HD, right? That looks pretty daunting. But this is how I envision each and every one of you as an HD warrior, because you are. And I want you to have the shield and the armor and all the tools to navigate that constantly changing journey. But I also want you to know you don't do it alone. You can do anything, but you can't do everything. And this is not a solo journey. So you got to think about, who are we bringing together to help me on this journey? Life isn't a solo journey, and HD is not a solo journey. And there's a lot of amazing people that care a lot about the HD community. And this is a picture at the HSG meeting with community researchers, clinicians all together, right, and coming together. So I want to just kind of think about one's journey with HD and how you build resilience and coping mechanisms along that way, right? Because it changes. I think it's important to know one's life path. The first thing that I do when I meet someone who comes to my clinic is I say, we're going to talk about HD, but I want to know about you. So tell me about your life's path. Where were you born? How did you grow up? Who was in the house where you're growing up? Did you graduate from school? Did you go on to school? Where did you meet your spouse? Right? Why did you move from here to there? I want to understand who you are, because it's really important to understand what you're bringing to the table as we approach Huntington's disease. You are who you are as you approach this journey. So you bring what you've experienced in life, what that's growing up, your education, falling in love, work, achievements, successes, failures, and challenges. So understanding that's critical to this journey, and knowing who you are is critical. And not just your life experience, but then you bring your experience with HD, right? Your experience and your memories. Grandparents, parents growing up in a household with HD, siblings affected. That psychosocial dynamic is very different than someone who's not growing up with Huntington's disease in their family. So we want to understand your life's path and then how Huntington's disease has touched that experience, because your experience with a parent is going to affect how you think about Huntington's disease and what that might mean for you. But importantly, your path is not determined by others' paths and experiences. So what your parent experienced with Huntington's disease does not have to be your same journey. So you need to think about that. We're human beings. The natural thing for us to do is compare ourselves to other people, whether it's someone's shoes or eyeglasses, those experience, how someone raises their child, gives birth. We're always comparing, right, and hearing what other people experience. But your journey is your individual journey, and you get to make it that, okay? This is a complicated slide. I don't expect you to look at all these details, but this outlines sort of a life cycle of Huntington's disease, from someone whose parent or grandparent has been diagnosed and is going through the disease. You're growing up with a parent affected by the disease. You realize you're at risk for Huntington's disease. You start thinking about planning your own family. Your parents getting sicker, right? Their disease is progressing. You make decisions about work and life, getting married, having children. Then you decide, should I get tested? Maybe, maybe not. That's your own personal decision. And then potentially a sibling gets affected. And then potentially you get affected. And then you're caring for young kids, aging parents, and as your disease progresses. And there's just this multi-layer, right? It affects generation after generation after generation, so those experiences trickle down. It's very complicated. Again, the psychosocial component of this is very complicated. So I like the idea that it's a process. So getting the news is a process, and you start building resilience when you get the news that your gene expanded and or you're showing symptoms of Huntington's disease. It's life-altering, right? And this is a process. So you've got to let it settle in. You can be angry, you can be sad, you can be in shock, denial, you can be numb, any of those. You could be all of those, okay? And again, it's your own personal journey with this. Be kind to yourself. No sudden movements, as I say. Let this settle in. What does this mean to you? What does it mean to your loved one that's potentially with you getting the news? What does it mean for your family? Kind of think kind of small and then inch that out. What does this mean for your friends? What does it mean for your work? Right? So you have different worlds in your life. And so I say, be kind to yourself and slow and steady. You don't have to take action right now. Pause, take a minute, let it settle in. It takes months for this to settle in, up to a year, to really understand what does this mean for me and my family and how do I feel about it? How does this make me look into my future or look into my past? Your empowerment is education here. Just start learning once you're emotionally at the right place. You don't have to go home and pull up the website and order the book right away. Like I said, let the emotional piece of this settle in and through and over you. And then once you feel ready, the empowerment and the action that one can take is start learning. You all are obviously here, right? You are learning. There's local events, there's online resources, there's lots of places to go. You want to create your support team, know your resources, and know your options. Sharing the news, right? Once you get the news, then you start thinking, well, how am I going to tell people? No sudden movements. This is your information to share as you feel ready and want to share. Consider who you want to tell, how you want to tell them, but be okay with it in yourself before blasting the news out, all right? And it can be a very slow process on who and you want to tell. You know, put your foot in the water. What did that feel like? You start to identify yourself. Who am I? Am I from a family with HD or a daughter or a son with someone with HD? Just a family? Am I a family member? Am I at risk? Am I gene positive? Do I have it? I dropped my keys. Do I have HD now? You can be all of the above, and often people are many of the above. And it takes time to get comfortable and settle in with how you want to self-identify, and that changes over time. So when you join a community like this, you can self-identify in any which of these ways. You don't have to share if you know you're gene positive or you feel like you're having subtle symptoms. That's yours. That's yours to keep and share as you feel comfortable. So that will shape over time. I'll say everybody often asks, am I having symptoms? It drives people coconutty, all right? Is this it? Did I tripped over something, I bumped into the wall, right? We all do that. But obviously, if you know your gene expanded, you're constantly wondering whether this is HD. I'll also say there's not every dropped item or trip is HD. There are emotional responses that are appropriate to situations, right? My kids drive me coconutty sometimes, and most of the time I hope I parent gracefully, but I have my ungraceful moments, we all do, right? And when you get in a heated discussion with your spouse, sometimes they just frankly tick you off, right? There are appropriately emotional responses. It doesn't mean it's HD per se. You've got a lot going on. It's very distracting as you're going through this process. So it's not always HD, but it can. So what do? You build your team. You want to make sure that you're taking care of your whole self. So you want to make sure that you have a primary care physician, you're seeing a neurologist and or an HD team on a regular basis so they can think about whether this is HD and think about it early so that we can get in there early and provide the support that you need, and realize that this is a journey you're not alone on. You've got your team here to support you along the way. You don't have to answer these hard questions. That's for us to help with. And you start building your resources for education. You've got social workers that can go out and do in-services. You have the local events that take place. There's social support, and you build your care partners. You want to create your community. And that's those HD warriors. This is all of you, right? Build your support network. Friends, families, HD warriors. You want to meet with other people that have walked in similar, not the same, similar shoes, so that you can learn from each other for shared experiences or even unshared experiences. Find a point person in your life, right? It's good for any of us to have a point person in life, but find someone that you feel can be a logical point person that can at least arm's length keep the emotion aside. You can have the best spouse, the best brother or sister, they're all involved emotionally, right? You need someone to go to that can be kind of your rock if you need to call a friend. Consider telling someone at work, right? If you're working and you feel like you're becoming more symptomatic and you're not sure if it's interrupting your work, have someone that you trust at work that can just be your check-in point. Again, you don't have to. This is your information to share as you want to. But if you're questioning yourself and you're unsure, these are ways to kind of build your resilience, your support team, your support structures to help you through this. You're not expected to do it alone. And with other people's input, that can be very helpful. Go to support groups. They're amazing. I am not a support group person, right? I will hands down say that. But when it comes to something so specific, like one's experience with Huntington's disease, your support group is your community. And you need that community. It's a great place to learn from those running the support group, but frankly, learning from one another through people sharing their stories and experiences. There's a lot of social media out there now for the HD community, so consider that. If that's your thing, those social networks through social media platforms, then it's a great place to get involved as well. Learn about HD. You want to be equipped with as much knowledge about this as possible on all points. There's lots to know about Huntington's disease. So learn from your medical team, learn from events like this, national events, local chapters. There's Help for HD events that occur throughout the year. There's online resources here through HDSA, Help for HD. HD Buzz is really popular, breaks down information beautifully, and again through social media. And you want to learn about the symptoms. What is HD? What are the possibilities? It's a whole spectrum, right? And I say, just because you've met one person with Huntington's disease means you've met one. And everyone's different. There's shared common features and experiences, but everyone's a combination of their own, okay? Learn how it affects individuals. Is what I'm experiencing normal? What treatments are available to me? What research is out there that potentially I could get involved in, right? What are my options here? Here's a list of some of the resources that I had mentioned on the last slide, which are just great resources to go to. You want to look to the future. You want to continue making plans and planning for your future. You want to think about these things on what's right for you. People about relationships, dating, marriage, family planning. Do I want to have kids? And if I do, what are my options? And it's places like this that you learn about those, right? Pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. There's lots of different options out there. Think about what your life goals are. What do you want to accomplish in your life? What's important to you? Some people call it a bucket list, but I like to think about it long term. What are your next goals for the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Make those plans. Look into the future and make them with your loved ones so that you have a shared vision of what those years look like. And that empowers you to make these decisions early on. And that might change over time, and that's okay. You want to think about work and then think about disability and long term. So empowering yourself with these pieces early. Raise awareness. Tell people about Huntington's disease, right? Tell people your story, share your story. We're greater in numbers in anything we do, right? It's a team-based approach. And you want to be part of the solution to educate others, build awareness, potentially get involved in fundraising for care or research. There's empowerment and building of that resilience through these options that are available to you. I mean, we made it to the Pope, right? You all made it to the Pope. That's raising awareness. That's being heard. That's amazing. That's resilience. Look at those smiles. To be powerful, you need to take care of yourself. To be a superhero, to be an HD warrior, you need to take care of yourself. That includes physical health, right? Eat a heart-healthy diet, try to exercise, get out there and walk, go for an evening stroll, and make sure that you're getting regular routine medical care. When Huntington's disease enters one's life, they tend to think about HD. It's all HD. Well, we've got other stuff, other body parts things can happen, right? So you want to make sure that you're taking care of your whole person. Mental health is critical. We think about it as wellness. Think about what feeds your soul and brings you joy. You got to fill your cup up because it keeps draining. The world drains it from us. So how are we going to fill up our cup? Think about having a mental health provider in your life early. That's another point person. Again, you can have the most caring family around you, but you need a space that you can decompress and just get it out. All right? And that's with someone who's not emotionally attached, because otherwise there's a lot of charged feelings around that. And support groups. Develop your coping strategies. This is different for everybody. What I want to say first and foremost for coping strategies, self-forgiveness. We are so hard on ourselves. And guilt is real. And it's okay not to be okay, frankly. All right? And it's okay to say you're not having an okay day. Because that gives someone a chance to say, how can I help? Or you know what? I got a squeeze to give you. Let's just get a hug in there. And sometimes that's all we need. Whenever I'd come home upset from whatever, life, my mom's from England, and so she would always make me a cup of tea and an English breakfast for dinner. That was a coping strategy, right? So again, whatever works for you. Therapy, breathing techniques, mindfulness, family, friends, HD community, find your hobbies and interests, what you derive enjoyment from. Feed your soul, take the time. And then it comes down to empowerment. This enables you to conquer just about anything with all these tools that you've built to build this circle of resilience, to remain adjustable and flexible throughout this process, and to have your spokes of support that you can call on when you need them. And multi-pronged approach, not just one, because if that spoke breaks, it's fragile. Have multiple spokes. Value yourself, care for yourself, don't keep it down inside, right? Don't live with secrets. Harness your inner strength and superpowers and become that HD warrior all of you are capable of being. There's a couple great books here by Erin Patterson, All Good Things, in which she writes a memoir about genetic testing, infertility, and one woman's relentless search for happiness, and then sharing some HD heroes' stories. And then there's a lot of hope in research. We know what causes this disease, right? And there's a lot of people working on different avenues to figure out how can we slow this down? How can we stop this, right? And research is right for some people and not right for others, okay? So you do you. But a lot of people do experience empowerment in giving to that research. And as you can see from a lot of the companies that are here today, there's a lot of people working in HD. It's a really exciting time. And there's been lots of failures in research trials and lots of signals for successes. And we keep getting further and further and closer to something that's going to make a difference. So if research is right for you, think about different ways you can get involved through these teams. Be kind to yourself. You can do absolutely everything, but not one human being can do everything. You've got to remind yourselves about that. That's what these circles of support and resilience are for you. And then make it not all about HD. Try to be in the moment when you can be in the moment. Enjoy simple things in life. I look at this little girl who's painting her toenails, right? And thinking about just being in the moment, getting the wiggles out, being silly, right? Laughing. So love right now. So I want to thank all of you. I want to thank our JOHD patients and HD patients for teaching me about resilience that I see in them every day. So thank you for what all of you do. Key points: education, know where to turn for help, advocate, be an HD warrior, and maintain hope. So thank you, and I would love to turn this over to the wonderful Karen to share her story.
Great job. Thank you. Oh, do you like the pictures? Oh, yeah. Hi. I did. Does that mean I'm exempt from talking? Can I just leave? Yeah. The award, that's just another way I am happy, you know? When you help the Huntington's family, they take care of us. I also was Huntington's Person of the Year in 2003. So that's why they haven't given it to me when you guys have seen me, because I already got it, and I can't get it again. But I still look at that every day at home, and I know I got it. Hi. Okay, so my notes are a little messy, but I just kept going on and on. When you talk about resilience, it's an ever-ending topic of great information and very powerful. And Wonder Woman, holy cow, I should have worn my Wonder Woman shirt or my Batman, because I am a superhero. So I should have put that in my speech. I forgot about that. When I won that award years ago, my other niece, who's not here, she had said that I am a superhero, that I can't fly like Batman or be strong like Superman, but I help every other way, and that's where it counts. And we can all do that too. Okay. Yeah. And if some of my stuff I kind of got like off topic and it doesn't match so much, but I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully you guys will be patient with my crazy wordings. Okay, so I'm Karen Millick. How did I get here? I've always seemed to have good luck. I didn't know anything about Huntington's growing up. My family had no one with it. I had no idea how bad HD was yet. I love to run, so I signed up for cross-country, indoor track, and outdoor track in high school, and that is another thing that ended up helping me in life, continuing to run, because we know that exercise is amazing, and my running I love it. I'm not forced out there, and I've never worn music, because when I'm out there, I'm meditating in my brain, solving problems, and the serotonin in your brain really helps the Huntingtons. Okay. So I went to school to be a medical technician, and I loved working in the lab and drawing blood as a phlebotomist in the hospital. To me, the hospital was my second home. I know a bunch of you can't stand being in any hospitals, but for me, it was my second home. So my Aunt Sally, she was the first one who was sick. She fell at her mobile home, and they put her in the hospital and didn't know what was wrong with her. So doctors ran a bunch of tests to see what was wrong with her. They had no idea what was going on with her. So they ran all those brain scans and a bunch of hurtful spinal taps. And I could do nothing to help her at this point. I would just bring her a milkshake and thought that was enough. But that was totally not all she needed, dang it. Yeah, now I can say that, you know. So they said she had Huntington's disease. My first time hearing these words. So I still didn't know much about Huntington's disease. My Aunt Sally was only 50 pounds and in a baby crib, and in a very scary nursing home when she passed away. I had no idea that HD was hereditary at this point. So, my mother was always irritable, very irritable. And she didn't get along with my father, and that she only married him because she wanted to get out of her house. So, she was doing all kinds of terrible things at the house, and she was also babysitting these kids to make extra money, and that was not a good idea. That lady who brought her kids there was just too cheap to worry about where she was leaving her kids. And none of us, there was 4 kids, were around to know it was happening. But when we came and saw that, we told her to get the heck out. I mean, yeah. And so she was walking on the streets and getting kicked out of the drugstore that we grew up by. And then she was also throwing the Christmas tree out the front door and the antiques and the turkeys. So I never put a tree up for years, a Christmas tree. I just couldn't do it. It just made me so sad to think that she was doing that, and I didn't want to do it. I was afraid that my Huntington's might make me do that. I was trying not to have anything around me that made me be a little crazy. But now I have a Christmas tree up, and it's all Batman and superheroes. And Star Trek fingers. That's the top. It's very cool. I won't throw it out the front door. And I had a niece. She did throw my other niece did throw my Batman. This is on my list. She did throw my Batman toy in a tree. Holy cow! I was not happy. My irritability. And on the irritability part, I had no idea I was irritable. You don't know. You know, it's your body. You just do what you do. Until I came home and my girlfriend said, if you don't get on some medicine, I'm leaving you. That's when I realized I needed some medicine, and I got on some medicine. And it's much better. Okay, so let's go on here. So, sorry, I got sidetracked. Okay. So, my mom was, sorry, I'm going fast here. Okay, so, when my mom was doing all that crazy stuff, my father, who had emphysema, had a collapsed lung. We had to call the ambulance, and they were there to pick him up, and she was really crazy. I mean, it was all about her, and we didn't know why she was doing all that weird stuff. So we Baker acted her into the hospital the same day my dad was admitted with his collapsed lung. So that's the last time my mom made any sense. They gave her Haldol in the hospital because back then, 30 years ago, that was the drug of choice. Just give people Haldol, and they can't talk, so you don't know if they're good or bad because they're not saying anything. Yeah, I know. They tried to give my sister Haldol, and we're like, don't give any more. No Haldol in my family. Okay, sorry. So, Okay, so when my mom was in the hospital, they decided to test her for the Huntington's. She said yes, because, you have to ask, and, they just don't do this kind of things. Said yes. The test results came back positive, that she had Huntington's. And that is when I first did my research on what Huntington's was. I went online and I ordered the books from HCSA. They have those books on teach you how to take care of your family members, the caregivers. And I became the doctor, teaching the doctors at the hospital how to take care of my mom, because they knew nothing. They definitely had no idea on what HC was. Of course, we all know that. They still are having trouble. I took time off from my job to stay at the hospital with her. Of course, I can't take all the credit. My thing, I just know a lot of nurses from working in the lab, and I like hospitals is my thing, so I did that. But my little sister was the real caregiver of both my parents, and she did a great job. So we were looking for a nursing home for my mom because she had Huntington's and she needed to go someplace. And that was my first time I heard no one wants Huntington's patients. Yeah, it's like no, and no. And, this is 29 years ago. But I called a place called Lowell, Massachusetts, where they were taking HD patients. They had a program way back then. That's where I first spoke with Jimmy Pollard on the phone. He gave me lots of great information. And another girl, Susie, who was was she a social worker? Physical therapist. But I was like, wow, that's cool. But I'm like, no. We decided, our siblings decided we didn't want her to be so far away. So one of my sisters knew a director of a place that was nearby and clean and didn't smell. So we put her in there fast. So when my mom was still alive, I wanted to get tested. I wasn't going to tell any family members. First mistake, too, because you learn your family is much better when everybody in the family knows about HD. This disease is not meant to handle on her own. I got tested in November, but it took 4 months to get my results. And I hadn't told my family, but then a friend of mine tattled and told them. That's okay. But so in February, when I went to get my results, they sit you down and say, "Are you ready?" And they say, "Do you still want your results?" Which is good. They gave you that chance to say that, because you could say no. I know people that have it. I said yes. So they handed me the paper, and I said, wait. Well, they handed me the paper. Also, way back then, there was no HCSA Center of Excellence in Tampa. I had to go to a movement disorder doctor in Tampa, 2 hours away. So the neurologist said I had Huntington's. And they were starting a drug study. Sorry, that was not a good line, but okay. But they were starting a drug study that was going to be a 2.5-year study for CoQ10. And I said, please sign me up. I want to be a lab rat. And so I was in the study for 2.5 years, and you need to do all those tests that still, to this day, when you take those tests, you still don't feel like you're not very smart, and all those things they have you do, the letters and things. It's hard, but not that I've been doing it for 30 years. I was like, oh well. When I walk out of there, you just breathe and just say, okay, that was done. Okay, so when I went home after getting my results, I went to the library, because we had libraries back then. And not much was posted. Yeah, this is 29 years ago. Not much was posted on Huntington's back then. So when I went to the HCSA site and saw they have a convention every year, so I wanted to go. It was in Rochester, New York that year, and I'm from Syracuse. And that was a good way for me to get involved closer to where I grew up. So I wanted to go. So one of my sisters said she wanted to go with me, so we went. It was fun, and we learned a lot. But we're sitting there, and when they were talking about how much money they had raised that year, and they said how much? $150,000, right? I'm like, that is not even enough to buy a house. We were going, we're gonna die. And it's good to laugh, because, I mean, if you can't change how much it was, it's like, okay. Yeah, we're gonna die, yeah. Whew. So I've been coming to the convention every year. I've only missed 2, so that's like 27. And so at the convention that year, I met a few families from Orlando and decided to start a support group when we came back at a library. And then we moved it around and ended up having it like at the hospital and other places. I missed my line. Okay. And I wasn't trained back then to run a support group. They didn't have that in that part of the HCSA yet, but I knew to just everything we said in the meetings, we had to just stay there. But the support groups really helped me continue. I just loved going. It was like going to the movies for me. And, okay, so my mom never spoke again. She passed away 29 years ago, but she fell in the halls and when she was walking and had a head bleed, and we decided to let her go because there was no sense of keeping her around. And we didn't put the helmet on her because that's not fun. So that was 29 years ago. And they found the gene, another lucky thing that happened to me. They found the gene the year before I tested, and my parents, my mom and my aunt. I mean, so I didn't have to go through that mapping, that get the whole family together, which my whole family didn't want to talk about anyway. But I am so glad that that's another reason I just got so lucky to have this test just kaboom, have the test. All right. And the scientists who did that, who came up with that whole thing, that whole group, I mean, we got to give them a lot of credit and say thank you, because they could have chose to not do it so fast and, and give themselves a Nobel Peace Prize for coming up with it, but they decided to share the information, and that's how it got done that fast. Yeah. So I'm happy. Oh, done. Nice, just kidding. Huh? Yeah, more colors. Okay. So I got like all kinds of things there. Okay, so I fell off a horse 17 years ago. I was up doing a race in Utica and had 2 head bleeds from, and because I love to run, and it was supposed to be the best race in the United States that Runner World magazine said. So I was like, I want to go do it. And I figured I wanted to go check on a cousin of mine who had Huntington's, and I thought she was living at the horse stable with her horse when I was worried about her. And so I figured it was the same weekend, so I'd go check on her. But I sat on the horse in the corral and put this little girl on there with me, but the horse took off, and I fell off with the little girl. I guess I let go and held on to her, and I had 2 head bleeds. So I was in the hospital 3 weeks. I don't remember 2 weeks. And I couldn't move this whole side. Smile, it's okay, it's okay. But I think it helped me now. And, it makes you more resilient, when you have to do things again. And a lot of prayers help too in there. Everybody was praying that I would get better. And I felt it. It was weird. I felt the energy. It's not the spiritual, like the God part, but just I felt the energy. Everybody, all my Huntington's people were helping me. And, okay, so when I couldn't move this whole side, and I had to learn how to talk and math, learn how to do the ad and stuff. And I think that also helped me now because I think my Huntington, since I learned how to do little math differently, from the, what do you call that, occupational therapist and whatnot, I think that's helped me now. Because I'm like, wow, I'm good at those numbers, yeah. But, yeah. Okay, so, boom. All right, okay. Oh yeah, also, on the way to the hospital with that, holy cow, I had a seizure, so I had to be intubated. And I did not. I didn't want to have any intubation, no feeding tubes, no nursing homes and everything. But at that point, now when I look back, I'm happy that they did it because that was a whole different reason to have it done. Yeah. But I also had all my paperwork, my living will, my health proxy, all that in place since the day I got tested. And I didn't pick my family members because they don't get along, and it's a friend of mine. And it's a good thing because when that happened, they all had to come up. It was up in New York. And it was good because she took care of it. Because actually, if my older sister had been in charge of my stuff, I wouldn't even have a house now. She would have sold it. Yeah, so, okay. But boom. I hope hope everybody's good still. All right, so I kind of have always been happy with my decisions, like, oh yeah, well, I also worked at FedEx for 37 years. And I was a driver. Yeah, but what happens with us with our driving is that gets bad too. I mean, both my sisters, had accidents and things. But after the head bleed, I decided when I went back to work, I would get an office job. So that way, I took it off of me. The not drive, the part about driving and being maybe hurting somebody, so it was good to be in the office instead of having to wait till someone tell me. And that's another thing. Everybody in my group, my people, I've already told them, hey, if you see I'm doing something or acting weird, please tell me. I want you to tell me. They know, so it's like, how's my driving? Or because I still drive. I try not to drive that much if someone else is around. I drive, but I think, well, no, I don't think, I know. Because I was a driver for FedEx, I don't know why I had to say FedEx, well, because I was a driver, my driving skills are better, I know how to back first and, make sure they see you and all that. And so I am better. In fact, when I took the test downstairs and they were asking us if I got lost, if you get lost, I don't get lost because I know how to do it. Yes. You could take me with you when you go garage selling. So I'm good. And with the FedEx, I told everybody at work I had Huntington's because I was part of the Predict HD study, and I had to fly out to Iowa, and my sister had lived out there, so I wanted to stay longer when I went out there. And I just wanted to get the word out about it. I already, since I had my life insurance, my health proxy, my long-term health care, disability insurance, all that in place, I figured it would be okay. Because I know a lot of people can't tell your work. And I actually spoke at a FedEx convention, and I told them about Huntington's, the big bosses. And Fred Smith did give me money. He did give us $5,000 once. Yeah, wish he'd give me some more. Okay, we're just gonna go to the last page now. Oh yeah, well wait. Well, I like to have fun, I'm pretty daring. I moved to Florida on a dare. My brother-in-law dared me to move, and I move. Yeah. But what the heck? You only live once, so let's live. And I like to, what did I do? Oh, yeah, I know. That's crazy, right? It was fun. Who wouldn't want to live in Florida? I lived in Syracuse. It was freaking cold. I wanted to be where it was warm. Yeah. Okay. So, boom, boom. Oh, yeah. So, I had a girlfriend that I really loved, but she was cranky. She was the half-empty kind of a person. I'm like, I can't be with you. Yeah, no. And so you got to get rid of cranky people in your life. If they're not helping you, if they're not above you or same as you, just tell them you're too busy to be around them, and there are other people that you can surround yourself with that will be better, a lot better. And I'm old, so I know that. You know, I've got wisdom. You know. Okay. And then I'm just going to read one more little thing that oh, yeah, I've got here. All right. Okay. So there's something to be said for all these stories because they highlight I am a person living with HD, continuing to make the decisions to recognize I am living fully and not accepting defeat. Oh, cry. Thank you, everybody. This means a lot. This is as good as the award I got earlier. Yeah, and thank you. Okay.
Yeah, hug away, hug away. So she was a fabulous finale. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. Karen, come on up here.
Get rid of all the messy stuff.
Thank you for sharing your journey and your life and your spirit. Love it. So any questions or anything that you'd like to share yourselves, please feel free to do so. Hi.
Do we have a microphone? Or?
We don't. I can repeat it, or you can actually come up here and ask it if you'd like to. Yeah. Oh, please, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I have the pleasure of knowing you before this meeting, so it's really nice to see you tell your story to folks because I think it's very impactful. And I was wondering if you could tell yourself when you first got the result and when you first started this journey, something that you learned along the way, what would you tell yourself in the past?
So the question for those who are watching live stream was, what would you tell yourself 30 odd years ago when you just were diagnosed with HD, something that you've learned along the way?
Yes. Good question. Well, I wish I could have told my sisters to go with me that day and I wish we all got tested the same day. Because then, yeah, both my sisters were in denial. And, the one fell off, she had a car accident, and then she calls me up, she goes, I have atrophy, is that Huntington's? And I lied, I said, no, it's not. I was in denial with my family, I didn't help them, when I should have been better at being there for them. And my other sister said, are you gonna come to my Huntington's I don't have party? I'm like, no, you have it. And she got her test results on the phone from a general practitioner. Yeah, and a voice message at 8:30 in the morning. So I wish if we had gone together, I could have even waited a little bit to get tested so that I could have helped them, and that would have been a lot better. And I was in the CoQ10. I've been taking that for 29 years since I was in that first study, and I think that is. And you got to go talk to your doctors about anything, but they have it on the news now for hearts. It gives your cells energy, and it's not a drug. But I remembered a lot more phone numbers. Does that answer your question? I'm gonna hug you. Any other questions? Well, it was when I was doing the research on this. Is that okay? Yeah. The resilience. Then you hear this word optimism, and that is part of resilience. And holy cow! Another lucky thing. I'm an optimistic person, so life is so much easier for me when I wake up than when everybody else when half the people wake up, because they say it's kind of maybe hereditary, so it's probably, it's probably 50-50 a little bit. So I am sorry that y'all got to do that, anybody who's not. But they say though, oh yeah, and then they say optimists live longer, make more money, and what's the other? Yeah, something else. But if you are, they say you can make yourself more optimistic just by talking to yourself, saying, hey, I need to get up today. There are things I need to do, and I'm not going to let anything put me down. And then if you keep doing it, it's kind of like the rat and the thing when, he'll learn. Yeah. Yeah, thanks. You did great. I loved it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here this afternoon. We appreciate all of you, and I wish you a wonderful evening. The talent show is tonight, one of my favorite things to attend here at HDSA. Lots of laughter, maybe some tears, and a lot of very courageous young people. So please join us for that, and we'll stick around if you have anything to share with us. Thank you. Have a great convention.
Thank you.